Good evening, race fans. Welcome to Racers Elite Network. As tonight, our drivers on a collision course under the lights in prime time. Sin City, the place, is 23 drivers ready to rock and roll here on this 1.5-mile high-stakes oval. Matt Metler up at the Tony Trapasso Memorial broadcast booth as always, and welcoming for the very first time here to Racers Elite Network, a man that I became friends with for well over 5 years. We often talked about it. We almost made it happen about a year and a half ago, but tonight, Gary, is the night. Welcome. First and foremost, thank you for being here. I am fired up to have you on board this evening. What can we expect from these guys here tonight in the Truck Series? Great to have you alongside me.
Yeah, great to be a part of this, Matt. I tell you, it's going to be very exciting here tonight. Las Vegas, D-shaped oval. We think it's every type of oval that we've ever seen. You know, the cookie cutter stereotype. Here, this place is very different. It's progressively banked. These guys are going to be basically wide open. It's almost going to be like a mini Daytona or Talladega. I think you might see racing similar to what we see at New Atlanta, but I will spread out over time because these tires, they do wear here at Las Vegas. It is an old and abrasive surface, but looking forward to this race. I think we are in for a doozy here tonight.
Absolutely. You know, you bring up the draft being a factor here. And at first glance, or perhaps some of you folks at home that are newer to NASCAR or the virtual side iRacing, when you think draft, Gary, you think of places like Talladega, Daytona, the new Atlanta, not necessarily here at Las Vegas. However, I was out there for about 30 laps in the virtual car, and it definitely had an effect. I was seeing lap times, improve, 4 to 5 tenths of a second. So these drivers will be utilizing that to maximize performance and speed out there on the racetrack. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, with the downforce and the drag that's built in these trucks, you want the draft in the straightaways, but you really don't want it in the corners because of the dirty air, so you can get your truck to handle. Once we see these guys get into the corner, we'll see them kind of fan out a little bit, try to find some grip that works for them, but ultimately when they get back on the straightaway, they're going to be running in that single file line together.
Absolutely, 100%. Or that's what we'll see some of the seasoned veterans do out there. And the other part of that, the tires, those Dr. Feelgoods. If you don't take care of them, by the time you realize it, you're going to have to hold on. Because here in Racers Elite, we don't give out participation trophies like they do in modern-day NASCAR. Translation, we don't have stage racing here. We don't reset the field and let everyone restack on top of each other. So if you burn up those tires, you're at the mercy of those Goodyears until you have an opportunity to come down pit road and put a new set on that race truck. And Gary, you know firsthand, if you abuse them too early, that could be detrimental to your race. It could be over before it really even starts.
Yeah, you really have to be disciplined from the beginning of the run all the way to the end of the run. But the good news is here, Matt, they're not running that full tank that we would see, that 18.7 gallons of fuel. They're running at about 65% fuel, where they're getting about 12 gallons in the tank. That's going to be their full tank here tonight. They get one fast repair, but they only get 4 sets of those Goodyear Eagles, like we mentioned, and they can go about 25 to 30 laps per tank of gasoline here tonight. So going to be interesting to see how these guys decide to manage it. Are some of these guys going to go harder? Are they going to lay back? Because it seems like the sweet spot for the good of those tires, if you're going 1,000%, is about 15 laps.
Thank you for that. Gary, always going to have the mathematical stuff on, right, ready to rock and roll. That's Gary's trade, one of his trademarks, if you ask me. And I know we'll be relying on you a lot throughout the course of this race, as you just mentioned. Going to see a lot of different strategies here tonight. And perhaps someone's going to have to go full-blown high-stakes Las Vegas mode to put that truck in victory lane when all is said and done. Let's take a look at tonight's race information. Going to throw that up on the big screen, as always, so you folks at home can follow along with us right here on Racers Elite Network. And as Gary said just a few moments ago, this track, a 1.5-mile D-shaped oval, but don't let that fool you. This place, if you miss, it will make you pay. That safer barrier will do damage to the sides of these trucks and will affect the aero should you get up there in the fence. They are nowhere near as rigid as the next gens. Weather could not be better for this time of the year. 81% or 81 degrees Fahrenheit, 9% relative humidity. That moisture almost non-existent. Exactly what you would expect out here in the desert. Clear skies, nothing to keep that heated. Winds out of the west at 7 miles an hour. Could gust 9 to 10 at times tonight. Pretty much a non-factor. This track officially clocks in at 1.52 miles. However, advertises a 1.5 mile oval. That's going to give us a track temperature of 81 degrees Fahrenheit. So once these Goodyears get up to temp, they're going to be making all the grip out there. But how they take care of them and how they, I don't want to use the word abuse, but how hard they push these tires will dictate how long they survive. And as always, do it for Tony as we now send it down trackside as this field gets racked and stacked, ready to rock and roll, to go all the way here in prime time. Want to thank all of you for being with us once again on Racers Elite Network, taking you from the green flag all the way to the checkered flag 7 nights a week. Grandma's ready to go, Gary. She's got her life alert in one hand. She's got her PBR in the other. And as always, rooting for that Napa know-how man, Kensley Smith. But before we can do that, we got to take a look at tonight's starting lineup. On the pole, the fast man, the 32, Blair Holloman. He's going to start P1 and take us to the initial green flag here tonight. Outside of him, the HMFIC out of Hope Valley, Rhode Island. Andrew Teft in the 98. Pulling off in that second row, Riley Frost, who has been boss in the early going of this season. New Brunswick, the man, does he have the plan to get it done? We're going to find out. Sean Dunaway, longtime veteran of the series in the 01, as always, going to round out your top 4. Well, San Filippo is going to look to go back-to-back top 5s or perhaps even a little bit more. Kyle Hess in the 86, good to see him back out there on the racetrack out of Memphis, Tennessee. Evan in the 68. I appreciate you offering to help us on the broadcast side of things, sir. Perhaps can utilize you up here next week.
Chantel's in race control tonight.
Chantel, race control, thank you for that. Want to shout her out as well, as that field now begins to roll. Philip Archibald is going to roll off here 8th. Well, the 55 rider, Truth Hope, out of Boone, North Carolina, going to round out your top 10. The Nitrous Cowboy, Troy Thomas in the 3 machine. Going to roll off your 11th pole. Jonathan Harrison is going to be good for that P12 starting position. Cody Benelli, Brandon Zimmerman, and John Ross is back and around at your top 15. Brendan Honeycutt, Alex Gates, Curtis Eckner, Kinsley Smith, the Napa know-how man. There he is out of Tarboro, North Carolina. That's going to be your top 19 and top 20. 21st belongs to Richard Hurst, while the 196 of Barry Nelson, Hoss Beverly in the house. I see you in the 22. Going to roll off your 23rd. Alan Bergen in the 00, 24th. Alex Teft, Christopher Pendle, Russ Martin, Terry Fettle is going to be your top 28. Myself, Kirby Wayne Scott, I believe, helping out with race control duties tonight. And Gary Wells up here in the Tony Trepass Memorial broadcast booth with me. As that field now makes its way through the turns 3 and 4 complex. Lights are out on the pace truck. Gary, that means it's about to get rowdy here. The calm before the storm. Momentarily. There that pace truck goes. Here we go. Into the Geico restart zone. The man out of Pennsylvania is going to have the button. Green flag in the air. He's going to put it to the floorboards, and those glorious V8s come roaring to light for the first time here tonight. Gary, as they fire up towards you into the turns 1 and 2 complex.
Yeah, turns 1 and 2. We're already seeing it looks like there's a green and white truck. Can't make out the number. Looks like maybe number 90. Trying to make it 3 wide there.
Whoa!
Yeah, these guys are running it out pretty tight here. These restarts, we're going to see a little bit of aggression take place as people are trying to get up through the field and or try to establish their track position early. But I think as we get further into this race, Matt, I think we'll see a little bit more give and take. But the restarts, I think, are going to be pretty crazy.
Absolutely. And you saw it there on the initial one. In fact, speaking about calming things down a little bit, it looks about the first 8 or 9 cars in line, or trucks, excuse me, they are pretty much single file. Then you got to go back to that Budweiser machine. That number 3 out there is racetrack. Troy Thomas, who holds down that 8th place position, and Gary just behind him. That's where the Hornets' nest is right now. 2 by 2, side by side, Noah's Ark situation. And on the attack right now, John Ross already up 6 spots. He has cracked the top 9.
Yeah, he's made his way up through this field pretty quick here. Looking here at the 13, Brandon Honeycutt, he started 17th, already up into that 11th spot. He's knocking on the door of the top 10 as well.
Absolutely is hard on the charge here in the early going as lap 3 on the board of the scheduled 105. And look at this, Gary. It's okay to three-way at Las Vegas. I almost couldn't even. We got problems. We got 2 trucks that absolutely nose swan each other, and they keep it straight. Incredible as Kensley Smith almost forces it 3 wide, sends the 77 up the racetrack. These guys are driving like it's 10 laps to go right now.
Yeah, they are driving like it's 10 laps to go, but these guys able to keep it straight. Pretty miraculous there. It looks like the 8 as well involved in that. This guy's doing a whale of a job keeping the truck straight. The 19 has problems. He's up into the fence.
Problems, trouble on the racetrack. The 19 goes up there. A little bit of self-inflicted concrete poisoning. That's Cody
we got
Benelli.
more trouble. 22 and the 8 are involved.
Oh, no. Oh, my
and that's going to
goodness.
be a race ender. What a pile up here in turns 1 and 2.
Gary, in the words of Phil Collins, you and I can see that coming in the air tonight as we have our first caution for incident, and it is a big one.
See where I'm going?
One of those trucks
Well, at least these guys got a quick repair, but that 8 of Curtis Ecker, he is trying to get that truck moving, and he's not able to. He's stuck right there on the banking.
Did you see the angle of impact? That 8 just annihilated that safer barrier. That was intense.
Yeah, it's pretty much head on into the fence right there. He was slowing down for the wreck, and well, they he and the 8 got there. He and the 22 got involved there, and the 8 was just trying to keep it low, and the 00 just hits him, basically just rear ends him. Nowhere to go. Looked like the 00 was committed to the bottom lane and trying to slow down, and just nowhere to go. Wrong place, wrong time for the 00.
Yes, almost like this incident kind of evolved in 2 separate incidents itself. It started with the contact out there on the racetrack, and then as those trucks began to scatter, kind of plugged up those escape routes, and then the 00, as you mentioned, kind of the catalyst that kicked off the second wave. Now, as we go to the instant replay, folks, we're going to send up to the...
Yeah, it all kind of starts out of turn number 4, Matt. I mean, the 19 hitting the fence and trying to keep his truck straight, and then everybody trying to avoid him, and then it just kind of sets off a collision course from there, so to speak.
Absolutely. Well said. And as you folks looking at now at a quarter speed playback, you can see how the 22 and the 8 make that initial contact there. They get sent up to the fence. The 22 gets spun around in reverse, keeps it in reverse, but on the top shelf, and then the 00 of Allen comes in there and absolutely administers a shot to the business end of that that 08 Budweiser machine, and he uncorks the RPG to the top shelf of the racetrack. A violent impact, and that is the second explosion that if you thought, just when you thought you got through it, Gary, not so fast. This racetrack takes a lot of these drivers by surprise here in the early going. You did mention a fast repair. Let's recap the drivers involved here. You have the 00 of Alan Bergen. Then, as you called out, the 22 of Haas Beverly. Then you have the 8 of Curtis Ecker. And that's just a couple of them. They have the 94 of Christopher Pendle involved. Obviously, a lot of other drivers with some minor contact, minor damage here, but we have some of the elites in this series already being forced to use fast repairs, and I don't think Curtis Ecker was able to even get it refired. I think he may have had to tow right there from the racetrack.
Yeah, he had to tow right there from the racetrack. His wheels were spinning, but the truck just was not wanting to go anywhere, so he eventually did have to tow, and it's cost him 3 laps we're seeing here right now, Matt.
3 laps, and that's a huge hole to dig yourself out of. However, the silver lining, we're not even 20 laps into this race, so these guys will have an opportunity to race their way, getting back into contention. However, it is going to be a tall order, as folks, you know, these guys famous for going lean, mean, and green. However, a very uncharacteristic caution to open this thing up. You know, Gary, we said, hey, it's Sin City. These guys are going to pull the stops, do it over the top, and we've seen just how important it is for these guys to win here. You've seen the aggression here early, but now this is when the veterans need to get on the radio. Those crew chiefs need to get in those drivers' ears and remind them, hey, this isn't a last chance qualifier. We have a long way to go. Let's settle in. Let's get our groove and make sure we have something to race with when it's go time.
Yeah, 97 to go coming to the line here when they take the green flag. So a lot of racing yet to happen. A lot of pit stops here too.
Speaking of that, pace truck back down pit road. Checkered or green flag back in the air, and look at the 32 going to catch him on the snoozer with a beautiful restart out of Blair Holloman. He's going to clear the Fury. San Filippo up 3 positions now in the 12. Front
I
two.
got a black for passing. I don't know.
Yeah, the black for passing the pace car. You're
The
gonna have to
truck
serve
of
that one.
Curtis Eckert, he is back on the racetrack after being down 3 laps. He was on the apron at turns 1 and 2 as these guys are getting up to speed under green here, but for the most part, looks a lot calmer in the front of the pack at least here, but that Hornet's Nest, it seems like from 7th on back, man, it's getting pretty crazy.
That's where it's hot and heavy once again as John Ross continuing to climb the leaderboard, now up 9 positions as he's knocking on the back door of the top 10, but it is a mad melee right around the 15 of Kinsley Smith. Is he about ping-ponged off of the 42 in the 67? Talk about being up close and personal. I mean, you could pitch a tent over these guys. That's how close they are to each other right now.
Yeah, and it looks like the 15 Kinsley there, he is trying to work a little bit of that side draft. Which can help you to pull yourself up toward the front. It's a tactic that you see most commonly here, at Daytona and Talladega and Atlanta, but you can use it here too to get the job done.
Got to have that refined toolbox, and the more different weapons you have to go out there and get it done on the racetrack, the more success you're going to have. And Kinsley Smith is refined. He knows what to do, when to do it, as he continues to work the top shelf of the racetrack, trying to get around the 65 right here, who's really getting some great speed through the center of the corner there. In fact, Troy Thomas now going to assert himself, that Budweiser machine. Gary, that driver there, missed that big one by a matter of inches.
Yes.
And these drivers
Yes,
still very content to run 2x2 side by side here.
Yeah, and I think we'll see a lot of that most of the night because, the top side, you can use that to save a little bit of tire because you're not cranking the wheel as much, but also at the same time, that's where the momentum is, right? I mean, down on the inside, you're kind of pinched off just a little bit, but it's just enough to where, you're able to make passes up on that high side, and that inside guy has to watch out for you because they're trying to use the entire track coming up on the exit of these corners.
Absolutely. And as you know, when you put your foot back in the throttle, momentum wants to carry you back to the outside of the racetrack, and if you have another competitor there, obviously two solid masses cannot occupy the same space at the same time, so you're going to have to force. Did you see that?
Oh, we got bumping and banging back here. 67, 196, the 65.
That's going to be Roger Gates and Barry Nelson doing the dance here.
And Brandon Zimmerman also there as well.
Did you see the 60?
I don't know about that one. I don't know how many more times you'd want to do that, but if it was me, he wouldn't be making it through the next couple of laps if he did that to me too many more times.
Gary, you would have been redder than that DoorDash truck just in front of the Tide Ride if that was you out there on the racetrack. I don't know if he didn't realize just how much distance he had between those two trucks, which wasn't much. But you want to send somebody go nuclear. That's one way to get it done. Is we're still 3 wide. The 65 gets shoved down to the flatlands. Is he still being used and abused out there?
Yeah, that 196 there, Barry Nelson, he sent it down there into turn 3. He knew he had the 65 to his outside. Was able to pull a slide job of sorts to make the pass, but it ended up working out for him, and now it's just a matter of, trying to get away, and you really can't in these trucks. I mean, you see the pack there, the big pack around about 10th to 12th place or so on back. But as we're seeing here now, after those guys, it's pretty much single file here for the rest of the field.
Sorry, now I got the wall.
Single
my bad.
file, but this seems to be the hot spot right now. We're going to keep the cameras right here. San Filippo, your leader. A lot of spacing up towards the front. Those drivers are kind of doing what they need to do. But, Gary, the other thing
It
that's
is becoming a hot spot battle for second, though. The 44 on the outside is able to pass around Blair Holloman. John Ross able to make the pass there.
let me tell you about John Ross, Gary. This gentleman here, I call him the boss for a reason. You think, obviously, the longer you've done this for, you feel like you're a good competitor of the series. You kind of have a little bit of a swagger, right? I've never seen one person be more humbling and just putting you back to reality at times than this guy, John Ross. No matter where he goes, no matter where he unloads, he is always a force to be reckoned with out there on the racetrack. Tonight, I was speaking to him pre-race. He's had to sit out the past couple weeks. He's had some personal things going on, some hardware changes, and he told me tonight, Matt, I have a brand new wheel. I've never used it before. I'm probably going to be off. And yet, here he is on lap 19, already well inside the podium.
Second. Yeah, running second. I'd say the equipment upgrade he's got going on there has worked out for him pretty well after 19 laps.
I knew is John Ross kind of has a speed date with the fence there. You don't want to do that. And Gary, you don't know this, but maybe you do. The broadcaster's curse is very strong with me. So there's certain drivers out here that I purposely avoid them on purpose just because the minute I talk about them, bad things happen. But John Ross, like you were saying, already up 13 positions. It has not taken him long to figure out that new wheel and pedal combination as he is now dialing up the excitometer on Brandon San Filippo in the 12. Currently has the lead, but John Ross wants it as he closes in on the tailgate of that Chevrolet leading the field, coming out of the turns, 3 and 4 complex, or excuse me, 1 and 2 as we fire down the backstretch, Gary.
Yeah, and it seems like everybody, for the most part, is pretty much calmed down. I mean, there's still some. Oh, then 196. Never mind. He spun, and that's going to be a caution.
Gary, that is the broadcaster's curse, and it seems to be the force is strong with you too, sir. Unfortunately,
it looked like the 196 and a purple truck. Can't make out the number there.
Well, the front of that Silverado has seen better days.
I try not to.
Air dam,
I try not
the
to
air
wreck it
inlet
tonight,
where
Brandon.
the air comes in to cool the to get airflow to the radiator to obviously cool the truck down, seems to be the only spot that's really unaffected. However, once you get towards the late assemblies, specifically on that driver's side, it is all smashed in. It is every way but straight. And Gary, this was a driver a few laps ago that was making some controversial moves out on the racetrack.
Just trying to.
And it looks like I'm not sure what happened exactly to the 196, but coming off a 2,
Nah, you're good. That's all good.
I don't know if he hit some bumps weird or was a bump draft gone wrong with the truck in front of him, but it looks like he just kind of had a wiggle and then came across the 94's nose and just kind of spun himself there and hitting the inside wall hard.
Yeah, as we go now to the instant replay, and I can tell you right off the bat, Gary, you got 3 trucks tightly packed and kind of offset, staggered from one another, and that's usually a recipe for disaster. As we're going to go on board now with the 94 of Christopher Pendle. He's going to have the VIP seats for this one on the racetrack as it unfolds right in front of him.
That one's on the 196.
As we jump on board, we're going to go ahead and run this back at full speed the first time, folks. Let's do this thing. It's about to get interesting out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, that was Brandon Zimmerman. John.
Yeah, the 196 just, I'm not sure if initially Pendle gives him a bump there, an offset bump or a push into the corner, which kind of destabilizes that tide ride a little bit, but then there's a delayed reaction. It almost seems as if that truck kind of resettles into the racetrack, but then it cuts hard back to the left, and after that contact, it is game over from there.
I thought you'd been out of commission for a
We're going to
week
go
or
ahead,
so.
go VHS mode here, roll it back, and widen this out
Yeah, a few weeks. But the last time I ran, I think it was Talladega.
Take another look
I,
at this.
Cut him off and spun myself on the front of his truck.
Actually, we got to go back just a little bit more. This side
Yeah,
of the
it's just hard telling if that was the bump that he received was the one that set the truck awry, or if it was just the bumps on the backstretch, because there is a few bumps around this racetrack. It's not the smoothest place in the world, that's for sure. So kind of hard telling what it all happened there between the 94 and the 196.
Here's an interesting look at it, Gary. So if you go on your end to camera 2, perhaps, if that's how you have it set up, but as it switches and refreshes the screen as they start getting ready to enter the turns 3 and 4 complex, just as that camera refreshes, you're going to see
Race control, can I get an
the
EOL,
Tide Ride,
please?
for whatever reason, make an abrupt move back down the racetrack well after that initial shove, that friendly nudge into the
corner. I still have a lot of
corner.
damage. I don't want to eat anybody's
And I'm not sure maybe if that was net code, but that truck reacted very oddly. Just like you said, hard to tell.
Yeah, it didn't look good. I don't know. Like you said, I don't know if that was net code or what. But just a little update on the strategy side. Everybody pitted there that last caution. So lap 23, that was the leader's first round of stops for the night, and they were close to the fuel window anyways.
Thank you for that, Garrett. So lap 22, we brought the house, and now we bring the green flag back underway here at Las Vegas. San Filippo got it done on pit road. Is going to retain the lead. We have some new faces now in that second place position. And look at the slider that Rob Yost just threw out there on the racetrack. As John Ross now, a little bit of a wiggle there off the corner as these tire pressures have to come back up, Gary.
Yeah, and these trucks can be a little bit sketchy through the first couple of corners as you're trying to get your way up to speed on low tire pressure. You got to remember that you are a little bit looser, but for the most part, these trucks handle pretty decently around Las Vegas. So, and plus with everybody going pretty much the same speed, it definitely it does help you out a little bit. But we got trouble, 00.
Alan Bergen in the 00 right off of the restart, having problems again. He was the ignition fluid or the lighter fluid in that second sequence of the first incident, and now the yellow flies again.
I don't know. There's contact between him and the 13. That's going to be an interesting call for race control.
I'll tell you what, Gary,
because they were 3 wide back there.
Like Darrell Waltrip used to say, when you put these guys under the lights, you get a new version of them. Everything comes out.
Checking up on the back.
It's like a full moon Saturday night almost.
Yes, sir. I mean, we've already easily surpassed the amount of average cautions we see in these races. We're almost going into uncharted territory as yet another yellow shows its ugly face. As we have to slow things down once again to 00. Alan Bergen involved in that one as we wait for the replay team to go ahead and give us the go-ahead. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Gary, let's once again dial it back. Looks like the 13 was given the 00 a push here. And I think the transition from the banking of the racetrack down to the flatland may have had some influence here. Let's send it back up to the chopper, as Arnold Schwarzenegger would like to say.
You would think the banking being pretty much flat on the front straightaway in the trial area to the apron wouldn't be too bad, but I tell you what, it really can upset your car and or truck, whatever you're driving here. If between that transition from track to banking or track to apron and then apron back up to the racetrack. So
a lot more than you think it would at this racetrack, but it happens. So here we go.
That's fun by myself, being halvesies on the apron and the banking through the trial one time. So it is not a fun time.
It is not. And you can kind of see there, after that contact was made, half of Alan's truck was on
the 13.
Was on the other side of the banking. The left side was not. And then he comes back down and turns himself right across the nose of that TRD powered machine piloted by Honeycutt. Then Allen goes flow rider mode, spins right round, nerfs the 13, back out of control, and then, oh man, is that the tide ride involved again? It is.
Yeah,
Barry
I think it is,
Nelson
yeah.
cannot buy a break right now.
Now, we did have a couple takers on pit road. Looks like the 20, the 90, the 00, the 15. Obviously, the 00 for obvious reasons.
Alan
Looks like
Bergen
some
had to
guys
use a.
just
Go
doing
ahead.
some top off on fuel and repairing some damage here.
Rough go for some of these drivers here in the opening laps, especially for this man, Curtis Eckert out of Southport, or South
you're
Williamsport, excuse me.
You
The
just
00
disappeared on my
of Alan
screen.
Bergen.
There on the bottom of the track.
You know what? And I was kind of teasing him before the race, Gary. I was telling him, you got to
Yeah, I
have a
got down
good
to the
run
bottom
here
on
tonight. He
purpose.
started the
He was
season
telling
off
me
great
back and
with a
lost.
podium
I'm just
at
waiting to see if it goes
Daytona.
away.
And maybe I put a little too much pressure on him, and I'll have to have a little chat with him after the race. But Alan Bergen, this is a guy that spends a lot of time practicing, also a broadcaster over there with SRM's been there for a long time. He's a big workhorse for them behind the scenes, but he's not having a, well, it
Do I look
hasn't
okay
been the
now?
best outing for him here. They kicked this race
Yeah, you
off,
look good so far.
and that truck is still
All right,
a little
I'm-
beaten and banged
I'm
up,
gonna get
Gary,
back on
so
the
he's
track.
going to need some more help to get that thing fixed up as we get ready to go back to the green flag side of
Let
things.
me know if it starts doing it.
Yeah,
I'll
I'm getting ready to
dip
come
out
back
of
to
the
the
way.
green here. Still your same,
Will
your
do.
same
I just don't
troublemakers as
wanna
before.
disappear and
Brandon
appear next time we wreck you there.
Filippo. I don't know how to pronounce it
Absolutely.
right.
You said it perfect.
Did I do good? All right, perfect. And John Ross there in the 44, your front row here.
Let's see what kind of boss moves Ross has dialed up. Is he going to
Alan, I'm gonna
restart
let you go on the high
outside the
side. I
front
got a lot
row?
of damage.
Beautiful restart by the 12. If he drops the hammer, Ross is going to stay in tow in that EcoBoost F-150. Then you got Toyota on Ford action behind him. As the 83 goes Christmas mode, blinks
Morning,
in and
Team
out,
Lacey. You're now
that
allowed
can
to,
be disastrous.
change lanes
And you can
until
see those
you
trucks
pass
around
the
him
finish
check
line.
up. That's going to allow the 44 and the 12 to generate a little real estate between themselves as they are single file, 2 by 2, smothered and covered just how you like your Waffle House hash browns. Here comes the 20 machine. Alex Teft suddenly up 20 positions inside the top 5. Where did he come from?
He's been quietly making his way up through this field here tonight for sure. One of those guys that we'll definitely have to keep an eye on throughout the rest of this race.
Absolutely, and he's been on a hot streak as of recent. He's won recently in the Next Gen Series, and he's been very effective and very stealth-like in the Truck Series, and seems to be trying to put another one together here under the radar, getting a big push there. There's that draft coming into effect again. As you mentioned at the top of the broadcast, what are the keys to success? Be able to utilize this draft effectively, use it to your advantage, and clearly Teft is doing a great job of that as he runs in that 6th place position. Gary, a couple drivers you said came back down pit road. That's going to be the 86 of Kyle Hess, and runs in that 21st place position. Jonathan Harrison in the 90, also down on lap 27 for damage repair. Russ Martin in that 23rd place out of Corey, Pennsylvania. And of course, Alan Bergen in the 00. Brandon Honeycutt on pit road as we speak. And he likes to,
Kinsley Smith, he came down pit road as well during that last caution.
and these guys like to kind of get off cycle at times, find their own strategy, and it works well for them. As we now officially
Yeah, I mean,
have lap
you really
30
have to when you're
Yeah.
running mid-pack and you're having a hard time making your own track position through passing cars. Sometimes you just want to get off sequence with the leader, because I always like to say this, Matt, if you find yourself following the leader, you know what you're going to end up doing at the end of the night.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader. So you got to do something different, and sometimes you just got to do something different and gamble a little bit. We are in Sin City after all.
That's right. And I love to do that as a driver, especially at a racetrack like this where it's tough to make passes. This truck has a lot of drag. There's a lot of downforce being generated. It's tough to get those runs at times, especially on fresh tires. Best way to get that track position, and if you know you're going to do it, save the run leading up to that pit stop. Get yourself up off cycle, get yourself in cleaner air, and give yourself an opportunity to to capture a checkered flag or a podium versus just staying single file and, as you said, following the leader. Some great racing up here at the front as Sanfilippo is running some qualifying laps, trying to hold off a hard charge and high-flying John Ross, who's up 13 positions.
Yeah, John Ross is on a mission here tonight. Like you said, up those 13 spots. But I will say a guy to look out for is Truth Hope there in that 55 machine. He was the fastest truck on the racetrack that last time by.
That's one of the guys that I cannot talk about, Gary.
Okay.
So you can talk about him all you want. So we'll just say the 55 is doing what he needs to do right now. He is vibing. He's got some boogie under the hoodie. Gary, let me paint the picture for you, just to kind of catch you up to speed. We got a little bit of time. So you want to talk about a driver that has lost more races or shot himself out of top fives, top threes, more times than I had never seen anyone this past season. That was this guy. Poles, put himself in position. He was there at the end. Then it was like something out of a movie. A late race caution. His truck, no matter if it was the next gen or this truck, he could not buy a break. Speeding on pit road. Glitch in the pits, wouldn't take fuel. Took a race car to the face. And was just on this streak of horrible finishes, even though he ran top 5, top 10 virtually every race. Then in the
so you're saying he's like Parker Kligerman at the Roval last year.
Parker Kligerman at the Roval, and that's maybe not enough. However, however, the championship race, he got the bad juju off of him. That black cloud was lifted off of his pit box, and he had one of the most entertaining and thrilling wins that I have ever seen, and it was just the reverse. Instead of him finding a way to kill his hopes and dreams, he found a way to give it to another driver, and they had a rough go, and it was the 55 in victory lane with his teammate, the close runner-up second. Ever since then, it has been a much smoother racing for the 55 out there. However, he still asked me not to talk about him too much, so we'll honor that truth, but
yes.
great run
Well, and the
thus
thing
far.
is too, sometimes you get in that slump where you're running really good, and it seems like at the end of the race you can't get out of your own way. Winning heals a lot of those wounds.
Oh my!
And fixes a lot of those mistakes.
My gosh, doesn't it? One win just reinvigorates you, refires you, gets you remotivated. Isn't that the truth? Is Sanfilippo trying to do that right now as he has kept that Chevrolet in front of that 44? Up 13 positions. Last time by, Ross ran a 31:20, so just a little bit quicker than the leader, Sanfilippo. However, Gary, as I like to say, catching them is one thing, passing them is another.
That's
Ross
right.
just cannot find a way to get around him, or is being patient and not trying to overdrive that truck right now. As you know, some dirty air on the front of these things that can tighten them up, and you can prematurely wear out that right front.
Yeah, it's all about saving the right front. You hit the nail right on the head with that one. I think it's just one of those things where he's trying to play it safe, play it calm, see if the 12 will make a mistake. Because really, he doesn't have a whole lot of help behind him. Yeah, Blair's running in third, but there's quite a bit of a gap there between the second and third place truck. So it's not like he could just try to do a slingshot engage type of move to the outside or to the inside and make it stick. He's going to have a little bit of help when it comes to the passing.
Yeah, you're reading my mind.
He spins around sideways.
The
I
33
don't know how many
gets
times
set.
you're gonna finish me, dude.
Oh, you heard him on the radio. How many times are you going to finish me? So obviously that's not the first time he's gotten into it out there on the racetrack, and he's going to multiple rotations out of that race truck. It just as the racing was really starting to get interesting up
I don't
towards
really
the
know
front,
how
the
someone
two-truck
can
breakaway
they're already
developing.
against the wall.
However,
Against the whole track.
Gary, as you know, this
I
cautions.
think there was
Go ahead.
Check it out on
might
back
have been
stretch.
net code there between the 77 and the 98. We'll have to take a look at the replay from the replay crew. But yeah, it was they didn't even touch there, Matt. But yeah, cautions breed cautions, as they say.
Cautions breed cautions, and there goes that advantage. That gap, poof, gone in an instant. These drivers last down on lap 22. Interesting to see if they come down, or if the leaders stay out and some of these guys towards the back come down to try to take advantage of those fresher tires, or it could be a mixed bag split decision or wholesale
Seems
pit
like
stops.
we're kind of getting right down to the end of the fuel run, so I think a lot of these guys are going to be coming in here. It's just one of those things where, unfortunately, you kind of you're at the mercy of what the what your fuel tank tells you too. So it seems like a lot of these guys are going to be on pit road here.
Yeah, everyone coming back down pit road. At first through 22nd on pit road. Brandon Honeycutt in 25th also down pit road. I thought we may start to see a little strategy here, but you're right. They were closer to that fuel window than I initially thought, and because of that, everyone bringing pit road back to life, getting it done in the trenches. However, under yellow flag conditions, unlike typically where these guys have to execute at a high level under green flag conditions, this race continues to break the mold for what we typically see Tuesday nights here in prime time. As we now go back to that instant replay, and Gary, I agree with you. It looks like a big case of net code here. Hopefully those drivers know it, and whatever feelings they had, they have some
we're gonna
chance to
leave that
kind of
as a
cool their
racing
jets a little
incident.
bit before they go
As the
back out there under
98
green
went
flag
off
conditions.
Yeah, I think that's what the race controller's getting ready to tell everybody. That was a lot of net code there between those two trucks. But yeah, Curtis Ecker, he's going to be our lucky dog. He's getting his 4 tires of fuel, and he's off and away. And I believe that's going to put him on the lead lap.
Absolutely will. And there's a driver.
Nearly 4 laps down, 3 laps down to back to the lead lap. He's still in this thing.
I'll tell you what, Alan Bergen right now is probably madder than a Keebler elf that got demoted to Fudge Packer, because that never happens in this league. I can't think of a time where there's been a driver that's been 4 laps down that has gotten them back even in 100%er, because we just do not get the volume of yellow flag conditions here. But tonight, and it's so fitting, Sin City, it has happened for the 8 camp and Curtis Ecker, a driver whose night started off, horrible for all intents and purposes. And as you said, Gary, here he is yet again, back on the lead lap, in it to win it. Incredible.
Yeah, these guys are 1 to green here, but one thing I do want to say, it seems like nighttime racing here at Vegas, particularly in these trucks, it always produces this kind of close racing to where you're more prone to mistakes because you're running so much more closer together. I bet you if this was a day race, we would be under green a lot more often than what we have. But I will say though, they have gotten it together. They've had a couple of longer runs, just not quite enough to where we're seeing those green flag pit stops start to take place and the strategy really start to unfold in this thing. But we still got 60 laps to go, so a long way to go here.
Yeah, and I believe if that Las Vegas sun was out there baking that racing surface, more greasier racetrack, we would see a lot more real estate between these trucks. As here we go, coming back into the Geico restart zone. Teff, the Alex version. Ooh, a little dicey there, but everyone keeps it pointed straight back underway. The 44 in tow. Toyota on forward, and here comes Sanfilippo trying to give the bump assist to the 44. However, he was already on his tailgate. The 12 able to realize that does not give him the shove, because, Gary, as you know, you cannot push the pusher.
No, you can't push the pusher. I will say this, though. The 43's last pit stop was 7.3 seconds. Everybody else is in the double digits. I'm willing to bet that 43 only took 2 tires.
Gary, you're reading my mind. I was just getting ready to say that, and I love the chemistry. Here we go. It's a twofer on the bottom. They're going to rip it, Eaton hard, leave the 43 on the high side of the racetrack with no help.
Caution. Big trouble here.
Sweet.
Looks like the 98's involved. He stopped on the bottom of the racetrack at the exit of 2.
Thank you, Gary, for that. That is Andrew Teff, the head cook, chief, and bottle washer. He's going to get his share of the calamity now. Is this coming right off of the restart? Roger Gates
looks
on
like he
pit
was an
road.
instant victim of circumstances. The 3 and the
On the
94
bright
get
side, it
together.
is a one-stop
Looks like
race
another
now.
mean case of netcode here, potentially.
iRacing has done a lot with this
Okay,
most
now
recent
that's all
update,
it's
Gary,
got,
to
it's
kind
all
of
crap.
police netcode and, to make it better for everybody with their automatic
Troy, Troy,
with
where
their
are you
automatic
at? Tell me to
filtering
let you by.
system,
Are you gonna make it?
if you start to have issues with your connection, you'll pop a yellow
add
warning
time
at the
to,
top
bud.
of your screen. There's a Wi-Fi symbol. If the connection
Gotcha.
doesn't improve, it'll go red. 3 strikes, you're out, and they'll automatically bring you back to pit road. So just like you would if you told on the racetrack. Haven't seen this much netcode problems in a while, but tonight, I agree. Another case of netcode. It looks to me. I'll let race control have that ultimate decision making. Obviously, as those powers lie with them. But from the replay here,
That one's
we're
on
going
the
to run it at full
94.
speed.
Yeah, and you'll see there, Matt. It just looks like, the net code isn't there, and it just looks like he just runs him over and plows him out of the way.
It-
Hey, race
it-
control.
it
can
looks
you
funny,
see
but
if
it's not
DOL
anything
needs
on the
to
server.
continue to adjust this a little bit, please?
Absolutely. I mean, let's take a look at this on board now with Andrew Teft. The 3 just goes twisted sister mode. I mean, that was incredible.
Yeah, and just,
Yeah, I'm
Andrew
just trying to
nowhere
get
to
this
go,
thing
and
dialed in, man.
it
It's the,
causes him
first
to
item
be
on it,
involved
so
in a wreck
just trying
not
to
of his
figure things
doing.
out.
This usually happens to Andrew Teft later in a race. Here's another guy,
What'd you get?
not so much in the trucks, but on the Next Gen Series, is way overdue for a win. I thought he was going to punch through last week at Talladega.
Yeah, it's a VRS
However,
base, and it's just been,
classic
it's been a
Talladega
nightmare trying to
finishes.
get this thing figured
He
out. I've been working on it all
got
day.
past, coming to the stripe, came home second. But here's another example of Andrew Teft on a Tuesday evening drive out there just trying to mind his business, log laps, and all of a sudden, he's in the fence. You saw it from on board. Now let's widen it back out. Keep your eye on that number 3 Goodwrench machine, getting the help from the 94. Watch the evolution here, folks. Let's roll it. Slow it down. Teft, the outside, giving plenty of room. You see the give and take here, not side drafting. He's just out there trying to maintain his equipment right now, just riding for all intents and purposes. We come into the corner, and this is where it all goes wrong. Watch the 3 machine just go violent here. This is incredible. Oh, he's going to get a little bit of that net code, is going to kick the back of the 3 out, and he's going to get served right up in front of the 98's face. Nowhere for him to go, Gary. Then the 76 gives him a New England Patriots-style punt in the tailgate section of that race truck, and it's game on from there. He's holding on for the ride.
Yeah, just one of those things where you hold on, and at that point, you are just a passenger. There's really nowhere to go, and you just lock the brake and hope that you don't catch somebody else in it.
That's all you can do is at that point is San Filippo out of Jacksonville, North Carolina, my old stomping grounds when I was active duty military. As they get ready to go back green, folks, we're going to have to step aside, pay a couple of bills, but don't worry, we'll be back with all the high fly and high octane racing action. Stick around. We'll be right back on Racers Elite Network. as we had a brief brownout, for some reason lost the power. And ladies and gentlemen, everything was played back fine before I brought us back in. As you can see now, we are frozen out there on the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Gary, let's see if I can give this thing a kick in the pants. I know we're back under caution. During my brief exit from the booth, did you happen to catch why that yellow flag came back out, sir? That's wow.
Just looks like an argument over space between 98 and 90. It's a wall and cut down ever so slightly and right across the 98's nose, and it involves actually the 44 of
John Ross.
John Ross. So that's going to be a tough break for John, but
And the
we were getting ready to start pit stops when everything was starting to happen, so it looked like Ross there is going to be a victim of unfortunate circumstances there.
Ross having a great run, came all pretty much from the rear with the gear to the front of this thing. The 98, of course, being Andrew Teft, who was a victim of circumstance not that long ago. Then we had our own problems here, or at least I did, right about the same time that caution came out, just a few moments later. Here we are, racked and stacked, ready to rock and roll once again. San
Yep,
Felipe's.
and we're at 30 to go, and it seems like the top of the fuel run here, Matt, is about 30 laps. So, gonna be interesting to see how much of these guys were able to save fuel under caution, and of course, getting back to it. So, gonna be a little bit tight on the fuel window. We'll see who's willing to gamble and make it to the end of this thing.
And how fitting that, as you said earlier, we're at Las Vegas. I think it's under the lights in prime time. Come on, you're going to have to take a risk, take a gamble, as you just said. And I think that could be the difference maker. That 15, Kensley Smith, throwing that back to DEI when Michael Waltrip made that scheme famous. He knows how to save all of the juice in the box in the back of that pickup. Here we go into the Geico restart zone as we get ready to go back to green flag racing under the lights. And San Filippo has been a restart warrior this entire race, and yet again executes and able to shoot free as they are 2x2, single file behind him. Blair Holloman.
He was stopped in front of me.
Now back into that second place position. Kensley Smith is going to slot back in third. And your man you highlighted earlier, Truth Hope,
Pitting here.
knocking on the back door of this battle for the lead as he currently runs in that fifth place position, Gary.
Yeah, currently running in that fifth spot. Having a really solid run here tonight.
That spot.
But this is where we're going to see the gloves start to come off. Like I told you off air before we went live tonight, the last pit stop is when we're going to see a little bit more take and a little less give. We're right in that window now of it's starting to, as we get closer and closer to the checkered flag, there's going to be a lot more take amongst these drivers.
Absolutely. Earlier on in this run, we've seen the give and take, the drivers being courteous out there on the racetrack, respect being given. Now that internal switch is going to flip. These drivers are going to see red. Give and take is out the window. Their only mission right now is to get as many spots as possible on that racetrack for themselves, for their team and their sponsors, and to do whatever it takes to put them in victory lane. And the excitometer is going to dial up to a whole new level as we approach lap 80, as 79 is officially being written into the history books. Big time push there from Kensley Smith, bringing the Napa know-how to Brendan Sanfilippo.
And might want to call Kensley the closer, because he was kind of mired about mid-pack most of this race, and now all of a sudden we've got 25 laps to go, and he's right up here in the top three.
Kensley Smith always has a calculated plan of attack, and you You're sniffing these guys out good, Gary. You got a good
Okay.
eye, and that's exactly part of his MO. That's how Kinsley Smith
about
operates.
that, Rob?
You really get a good dose of it at Daytona and Talladega, but he's right here at the right time. He is in the podium. He is in the money. The question is, can he find a way around Brandon Sanfilippo, who has been steadfast, a stronghold at the front? He resides in second. Blair Hoffman trying to run off into the
Somehow saved
sunset is he's about about almost 0.3 of a second in front of the 12, Gary.
Yeah, he's
That's
trying to run
caught,
away.
Peyton
Let's see
Bridges.
how successful he's going to be. That 15, he really
Players, when you
wants
get
that
to me,
second
I'll say
spot.
hi.
We're on board now with Kinsley Smith. Look at him trying to get Sanfilippo to mirror drive,
I'm
make a
saying hi,
mistake.
I don't
Kind of looks like
laugh.
the Intimidator of old, doesn't it?
Really does. I mean, he's playing peekaboo there in the rearview mirror, letting him know, hey, if you keep leaving this lane open, I'm going to take it. You give me just enough room, and I'm going to go up here and take this spot away.
He put his nose down there. He thought about it, and he lurks. The front of that Chevrolet now comes up and gives a little bit of a nudge to the back of Sanfilippo, but that truck stays planted into the racetrack as they fire off the corner.
Yeah, they're all over each other's tailgates right now. And the 32, he's got some traffic of his own that he's got to deal with the 94.
94 does the right thing, goes to the high side of the racetrack, up into the nosebleeds, and now he's going to slot in behind the leader. Now the leader has a draft buddy. There's another barrier between. The 15, as he's going to pull the trigger, he's going to turn it down to the bottom of the racetrack.
3 wide here.
3 wide coming off the corner. It's a John Force special as Kinsley Smith and the Sanfilippo almost make contact.
Yeah, that was really close there. I thought they were going to make contact there going into turn 3, but they were able to keep it clean and be able to move on forward here. 22,
Dude,
21
saying
laps
hi.
to go.
God, say hi.
One of those drivers not happy with that
Yeah, middle
lap-down
pedal.
vehicle being pushed 3 wide there, but it
Next
kind of
time
a
I'll
victim
just
of
park it.
circumstance. He
I
went to
mean,
the
that's what
high
y'all
side of the racetrack, got out of the preferred lane. That's just a byproduct of racing right now where they caught him on the racetrack. Look at this grudge match special between these two Chevrolet drivers. They are still gridlocked side by side at over 180 miles an hour at times.
And it brings in the Ford here, the number 68 of Evan. I'm not going to try.
The man out
I'm
of
not going to try
Portland.
that. But yeah, the 68 is just reeled in here. He is looking at the 15 to the 12, and he's wondering which guy is going to go first. Do I need to push one of them? What should I do here? And that's just one of those things as a driver, you're always kind of wondering, as these guys are battling it out for position as you're closing in on them.
Well, as these two drivers, well,
The 12 bounces off the wall.
that's not what he wanted to do there, go up there and have a speed date with the catch vets. However, that does get him back single file. And Gary, look what that 2x2 side-by-side tango has done. It has allowed those trucks behind them to close in now and be a part of this. As you said earlier, 2 trucks side-by-side are going to be slower than drivers single file behind them, and that's exactly what's happened. However, since Kinsley Smith has cleared the 12, look at how much ground he has gained on Holloman. In fact, he has cut the deficit in about half, down to 0.4 of a second with 18 to
Holloman
go
was
on the
hoping they were
board.
going to stay side by side for the rest of the race, and he could just pull away. But yeah, good old Holloman. He's got to worry about that 15 truck now in his rearview mirror.
In fact, let's go on board with your leader and flip the camera around to the GoPro off of the bumper. And you can see that 15 getting bigger in the lens, which means he is closing the gap, closing the difference. Let's go ahead and throw the time delta up on the main screen.
It looked like the 32 was a little bit faster that last lap by about 5/100ths of a second. And he hit the wall coming off a 4 last lap, maybe even 2 this time by. He's kind of falling back now a little bit in that 15 machine there, Kinsley is.
Or is he perhaps cooling those tires down just a little bit? But Holloman doing what he needs to do. He is searching, he is hunting out there on that racetrack, Gary, trying to find out what's going to work the best for that 32. And he seems to have found something. As you said it, lap times have swung the other way. Last time by a 31.54. Kinsley Smith now That is
Falling back to
interesting.
that fourth spot.
Yeah,
falling back
some-
to the fourth spot there. Wonder if maybe one of those hits off the turn 4 wall kind of, made his truck a little bit tight, a little bit undrivable. He's continuing to fall back as the 12 seems to be kind of a new contender. He's been right there lap for lap with that 32 as far as lap time goes. Last lap they were pretty much even. The lap before, the 12 was about 2/10 faster, but like you said earlier, catching him one thing, passing him another. So going to be interesting as the dirty air plays more of a factor in the closing laps if he'll be able to get to that 32 and then ultimately make that pass for the win.
Absolutely. And as you were saying about the lap times, I went ahead and thrown that graphic up on the screen for the viewers at home. It almost looked like Sanfilippo was fading, and yet look how quickly things change. It's never over till it's over, till that checkered flag flies. And in fact, Blair Holloman is now under a half a second. The 32 carries the torch for that Chevrolet Bowtie. Sanfilippo, who has basically entrenched himself inside the podium. Oh!
32 clipped the fence there, coming off of 4.
Shades of what happened to the 15, Kingsley Smith. Does not want to risk doing that again, as we've seen something has gone way wrong with Smith, perhaps knocked the toe out of that race truck. He is now slid and hemorrhaged all the way back to that 12th place position. In fact, he's going to bleed a little more here as Curtis Ecker is going to go by on the top shelf, and he's got help with Brandon Zimmerman and Kyle Hess.
What a comeback for Curtis, though, tonight.
Absolutely.
To be basically 3 laps down, you get 3 lucky dogs. You work your way up to the 11th position, knocking on the door of the top 10. Great recovery by that 18.
That's why you never give up. You always stay in there and fight. You never know what's going to happen. Even if you've been down this road before, you always keep your head in the game, keep your car out there on the racetrack, and sometimes you get lucky, and the 8 has done an absolutely masterful job of fighting that fight here this evening as he resides in 11th. We send it back up now to the point. Blair Holloman leads the charge here in Sin City under the lights at this 1.5-mile oval facility. The 12, look at him bobbing and weaving. He is going all out right now. He is giving it everything he can. If the 68 can close in just a little bit more, those two should be able to utilize the draft a little bit, see if they can gain some ground. As their lap times virtually are a 100th apart, one lap from another. Last time by, Holloman was a 8.6 to Sanfilippo's 8.4. And Sanfilippo hits the fence, Gary. Sanfilippo in the wall. The 68 went into the wall as well.
Yeah, it looked like the 68 just followed the 12's line to the exact tee all the way up to the fence. It's as a driver, you can kind of get lost and forget where the wall is sometimes. It seems like we've been seeing that here a lot lately between our leaders.
I've done that so many times, and in these parts of the race, especially if you're up here fighting, going for it all, you get so laser locked on that truck in front of you, you end up making the same mistake they do, and you don't even realize it until it's too late. I have done that plenty of times myself. Now the 68 picks a peak down below. However, the 12's going to throw the block. I think this might be a case where the 68 wants to maybe try to find some less disturbed air to try to make this pass, because if he tries to do it in the wake of the 12, that's going to really affect that turn in on entry. It's going to want to plow the nose, and you can see that how he's not able to maintain that speed, and he's kind of hurting him because he has to regenerate it coming off the corner. I think he should try maybe to go high here, do something opposite of what the 12 is to perhaps get this pass done.
Oh, he was able to close on him right there. Yeah, it just seems like the 68's able to turn into the corner sooner, where the 12 is kind of arcing it more. But the 12 he's not only got to worry about this 68, but he's also got to figure out, how am I going to pass the 32? Because I know I'm faster. I'm faster by just a little bit. I got to figure out, and the 68 has been the fastest of these 3. But I think the draft is playing a big role in that. It's just a matter of how these guys are going to make passes. We got trouble on the backstretch. No caution. It was a Ford. I couldn't tell who it was.
Trouble on the backstretch. They
all keep straight. I think it was the 76.
We have the 77 here of Gates the 76. We have the 67 of Roger Gates.
Aha.
In 25th, and I believe that's the truck you're referring to. And I can confirm he is kind of scraping the wall a little bit, but he is pointed straight, running just in front or behind of Andrew Teft. Is 6 laps remain. So we go back up to the point, and it is getting good in the neighborhood. San Filippo.
32 taking a higher line, everybody taking the bottom. It's going to be interesting to see, the air games you got to play in these trucks and the next gen car now is in the Cup Series now. But you play a lot of air games at these mile and a half. Let's see if it's going to pay off for the 32.
The 32 left a hole, went up to the top shelf of the racetrack. The 12 got a push from the 68, and now he has the preferred line. Can the 12 make it stick on the bottom? The 32 is going to utilize that horsepower and torque and keep it wound up. The 32 still leads at the line, but a big push there from Evan in the 68, who continues to be the fastest truck on the racetrack. The 32 is going to try and pin him down.
Just go ahead, right here.
Yeah, he's trying. That 68 is trying all he can to get that 12 by the 32, so it could be a race between those two gentlemen. But you're also seeing here now, the 01 and the 43 have joined this party as well.
Sean Dunaway, where did he come from? He is now in the party. He is in the fight of his life for the win. 3 laps to go, less than 5 miles now to settle this one.
This is a recipe for a 5-truck wreck.
Keep it.
Absolutely.
But these guys have been able to prove it all night long. These guys can hold it pretty well. So, the 43, never mind.
Alex
Smacks
Tepp
some gets there.
does the Indy snake into the fence, and hello, Kitty. Hello, I see you. Sean Dunaway in 4th. Holloman still fighting, clawing and clinging, and holding on for dear life. His popsicle sticks now in the air, Gary.
Yeah, that 12 truck, he's going to go to the outside this time. 32 went middle, 68 went low side. Let's see how it's going to work. I think the 32 is going to have to make it a couple lanes wide here as he gets ready to take the white flag here this time by, hopefully no caution. They come to the white flag.
The longest corner coming off of 4 to the start-finish line. Barney has the white flag in the air, and we are racing back to the checkered flag as they get single file behind him. But I don't think it's going to be enough. Blair Holloman just needs to come off this corner, keep it under power down the backstretch, have a solid 3 and 4, and he will win this race as they try to get some momentum between Filippo, Evan, and Sean Dunaway. They're just going to run out of time. Alan Bergen going to go to the bottom and coming to the start-finish line. Nobody circles the wagons in Las Vegas under the lights in prime time as Blair Holloman
Good way, Blair.
puts on a defense lesson of the ages here in the Truck Series
Thank
and bags himself a big-time win.
Rodney, I think I got tied
Sanfilippo's
on you
going to
there.
come
That
home
came up
second.
my
And
bad.
how about
If I did, thank you for not killing me
Evan
there.
Gamet in that 68, Gary? That was a great battle for the win here.
Yeah, great battle for the
My
win.
stuff turned off there
Finishing
on the
in
last
third.
lap. Sorry if I scared
And
anybody
you know
or
what's
anybody.
even better?
Can't even tell.
I'm going to bring it up. The Pacers just won in overtime over the Bucks.
Good race
4-1
there,
series win.
Richard.
It's a
That was
good
pretty
night.
fun.
Hey, Indiana wins in Gary's first broadcast here on Racers Elite Network, and we had a World War II style trench warfare battle here under the lights in prime time as Blair Holloman gets the rest of the good out of those Goodyear Eagles, and why not? You don't need them anymore. The Middleton man burning the house down, and he earned that one, Gary. He had to work. That was not gifted for him. He had to fight. He had to do everything he could to hold off.
And that was the longest run of the night too. I mean, these guys 32 laps. We were talking about that fuel window being 25 to 30. They were able to exceed the fuel window. Enough fuel for these guys to make it to the end. And I think, like you said, 32, burning it down, getting rid of the Goodyear Eagles, and burning off that Sunoco race fuel as well.
Longest run of the night. Perhaps that may have been part of, some of the troubles too, because these drivers just couldn't get a good read on a full run because we just didn't have that opportunity with all the yellows as he parks it now at the start-finish line. What a drive. For the Mako Tools, number 32 is Blair Holloman going to get his first win of the season. San Felipe, once again, a solid performance out of Jacksonville, North Carolina. And Evan, one of the newcomers to the series, continues to impress, up 4 spots. Going to round out your podium as we now get ready to shift to post-race coverage here on Racers Elite Network. Folks, we're going to reset the graphics. We'll be back in 30 seconds with driver interviews and more. Stick around.
Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad when they need a little push in the right direction. That's just who we are. We're a beautifully diverse group of goofballs dedicated to driving fake race cars as fast as possible. And we continue to push each other to the front using the power of nonsense. We have one of the strongest NASCAR programs on the service, and you can access it all for $24.99 a month. And we just released individual subscriptions for $14.99 a month for each NASCAR vehicle. We also just added a Rallycross program, and our IndyCar program is taking off as well. So come join the weird side. We have speed and cookies. Cookies are not included in some locations.
Race fans, welcome back to Racers Elite Network as we just witnessed an extremely good battle at the front of this thing for the win here at one of the greatest 1.5-mile ovals, in my opinion. And when you do it under the lights, it brings a whole new dynamic to the table. And boy, did we get to see a heavyweight slugfest for the win. Blair Holloman, the victor. San Filippo, who was a juggernaut on the racetrack, is going to get a much-deserved second. And the new guy, the young gun, or back in the day called the Gillette Young Guns, Gary, you know what I'm talking about. Evan continues to impress here in his first campaign with Racers Elite as we get ready now to speak with your top 3. As always, gave them a moment to speak with their fans, their family, and they are now standing by in the broadcast waiting room. And again, we are looking for. Well, that's interesting. There we go. Going to bring up our third place driver first. Evan, welcome to the Tony Trapassa Memorial broadcast booth. Gary Wells standing by. He's with you, buddy.
All right, Evan. I mean, third place here tonight. You ran really good all night long, starting that 7th position. Never left the top 10, really. Talk about your race and talk about the execution you had to do in that last run to even think about being in position for the W tonight.
Yeah, the first half of the race had a bunch of cautions in it, and just play the fuel strategy. Ended up not having to take a stop because you could save so much fuel under those cautions. It was nice to have, but having that long run at the end was fun. Definitely tried to save as much tire as I could, but with the dirty air off the trucks, they punched such a big hole. It was kind of tough, but it was fun all in all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know Matt, where we're going next week. I don't even know. I don't have the schedule in front of me.
We are going to Long Beach.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Long Beach. We're doing street racing in these trucks next week. Have you done a street race with the truck before? What's your thoughts going on Long Beach next week?
Well, actually, I think Long Beach is for the Cup, not to correct you guys.
Oh,
but
well.
I'm not sure where we're going next week.
Oh, okay. We don't know either. Well, next track. I mean, how do you feel about your chances in next races as we move forward? How do you feel about your chances at the Truck Series moving forward? When do you think you might be able to get a dub here soon?
Well, I'm looking at the schedule now, and I believe the next race is Pocono, and that
Pocono.
Yeah, it's Pocono, and that track is definitely one of my enemies. It's definitely nice having these finishes already in the early season. It's unexpected, honestly. And I'll just go into Pocono with an open mind, see what happens, qualify. If I don't qualify, great. I'll just ride around, see what happens. But that's it. That's all I can say.
Well, any thoughts or shout outs or things you want to give to any sponsors or any plugs you got to do before we let you go celebrate that third place?
Shout out Hometown Garage. Shout out my girlfriend. I know she's watching. Shout out my mom. I think she's still watching. But that's about it.
All right. Well, congratulations on third place, and we'll see you in the next race at Pocono.
Yep. All right. Thank you, guys.
And thank you for the update. Evan, of course, newcomer in the series. And, man, you are putting some great runs together. And your name on the map is, once again, drives him inside the podium. It lights it up in prime time. Everything going right for the driver, the new kid on the block early in the season as he looks to bring that momentum into Pocono. And Gary, how many times have we interviewed a driver that said, hey, I'm going to be garbage next week, and the next thing you know, they're up there fighting for the win when all is said and done?
I could tell you on many occasions where that's happened to a lot of people. But Pocono, to his point, though, is a very tricky racetrack.
Yes, it is.
Hopefully he has a little bit of luck on his side next week and he doesn't fulfill what he just said about not running good at Pocono, because you really never know with that racetrack.
They don't call it the Tricky Triangle for nothing. I happen to love that racetrack. Some do, some don't. And make sure you're locked in, ready to rock and roll next Tuesday night so we can see how that race unfolds. As you know, it's going to be a thriller. Is 1 down, 2 to go. Brandon Sanfilippo, next up, he is going to be standing by. Let's drag him up here to the Tony Trapasso Memorial broadcast booth. It's just one of those nights, Gary. I'm telling you. It's the nighttime brings everything out. It just adds a whole new dimension. There he is.
There we go.
Brandon Sanfilippo, Matt up in the Tony Trapasso Memorial broadcast booth. Gary with me as well. Man, here we go. Another race. Another show from you guys in that 12 team out there on the racetrack. You come home with a solid second place effort. Walk me through your race tonight. How were you able to get it done?
Yeah, felt pretty good. I just, with a big field like that, a lot of drivers I didn't know, so I just knew I had to stay up front, so strategy and pit and stuff was going to be important. But, yeah, just letting off entering the turns, trying to save tire, and then I passed Blair at the beginning on that outside lane, so I messed up big time after that last restart and gave him the bottom, and he got ahead of me. And then at that point, it's so dang hard to try to get around somebody with halfway through a run there. So definitely good job to him. Good race overall, and I'll definitely take the points.
Absolutely great points day, but I mean, I don't think you give yourself enough credit. I mean, you were in the hornet's nest. I mean, that was trench warfare at the front. The longest you, I think, ran on tires all night long with all those caution flags that are very uncharacteristic. Probably didn't get a good read on the tire earlier in the race as much as you would like to. So a lot of question marks there, a lot of unknowns, and yet you kept your foot in that truck. You kept up on the wheel. You were driving that thing. You were wheeling it. And I'm telling you, that's a much-deserved second-place finish. Do you think you could have done anything different to catch the 32 there if you had another go at it, or did you get the best position possible there tonight?
With about 20-25 to go, maybe pinch him to the inside if I could have at one point, but he knew that he didn't want to go to the inside, so he was staying at least one lane up. So I think it would have been hard either way. I mean, hats off to him. Just a hard fought back and forth race, and that's always what makes it fun. So
absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. Last question, then I'll turn it over to you. How did the dirty air affect the balance of that truck as much as it looked like up here in the broadcast booth? It seemed like once you were able to catch somebody, you started to pick up a tight condition. Like that truck just did not want to rotate. Was that how you experienced it out there on the racetrack as well?
Yeah, just definitely real tight going in the turn, so you got to let off a lot more. I was finding that you could let off quite a bit and try to compensate for that tire save when you were drafting somebody because you'd catch them in the back stretch. So that was one takeaway of it. But yeah, the dirty air definitely made it more of a challenge.
Thank you. I appreciate your feedback. And as always, who do you want to thank? Who helps you get it done on the 12th? The floor is yours.
Yeah, just all my friends and family who watch. Got a few dogs, literally. Charlie, Finn, and Toby. They always sit in front of the TV and watch it every night. So I told them I'd give them a shout out there. All my friends and family, Aunt Frosty, I know the Shoe Flows always watch. I appreciate you guys watching.
Well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen, the man out of Jacksonville, North Carolina, my old stomping grounds when I was active duty Marine Corps. Had it firing on all 8 cylinders from the drop of the green flag. He showed guts, he showed poise, and not afraid to get up on the wheel and commands that Chevrolet home to a second-place finish. That is the one and only Brandon Sanfilippo. Have a great night. Look forward to speaking with you again really soon, bud.
All right, appreciate it, guys. You too.
Yes, sir. And Gary, I think he described it perfectly. I mean, everything that we saw and experienced, you heard it echoed in his voice, and he fought for that one, and darn it, he deserved to come home where he did tonight. That man earned that result.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he put on a whale of a performance, and I know he led the most laps, so it wasn't the result that he ultimately wanted, but
Right.
he led 57 out of 105 laps tonight. I mean, to come home second, I know it's a little bit disappointing, but still great points tonight for him as he goes on to the next race at Pocono.
Right, and he said that great points day, and that means we have one gentleman left to interview. And Gary, I'm going to give you the honors being the first time with me on Racers Elite. You are now standing by with Grizzly
All right.
Blair Holloman. You are with Gary.
All right. Well, Blair, I mean, you heck of a performance tonight, starting on pole, finishing up in the first position with the win here tonight, leading 43 laps tonight. Put on a pretty solid race there. Talk about your race overall and talk about the different lines you were running there at the end of that race, just trying to hold off your opposition there and trying to keep the momentum up on that racetrack.
Yeah, when we started this race, I was running the bottom there for a long amount of time, thinking that that'd be smart. This track really does eat away at tires, so I was thinking if you could keep the left sides on the painted for as long as you could, you might still have speed. Toward the end of that first run there, I watched Brandon catch me on running the middle and high side, so I was like, all right, I'll put that in the bank, and then I got shuffled pretty far back, so spent the majority of the race trying to get back up toward the front there. The different lines there at the end, when we got to half a second gap, I'm just trying to watch the relative and see what's going on. And when I saw Kensley and Brandon start moving forward, I had to start searching a little bit, try to find some speed. I knew when Brandon would get to me, as long as I could keep the speed up and try to run the outside, it'd be hard for him to pass me on the inside. But thankfully, it worked.
Yeah, so pretty much just for you in the closing, say, last 5-10 laps of that race, a lot of it was just a lot of air games for you, trying to dump as much air as you could on the trucks behind you.
Yeah, with these tires being worn out, even if you were to have a run, you'd have to have something special to clear another truck. When the tires are this even, the high side, if you can just roll enough speed, it's going to be really, really hard for the inside guy to make the pass unless he washes up on that exit of the corner and gets into you.
Yeah, definitely. We saw that pretty much all night long. Really hard to pass after about 10 to 15 laps into the run with just the tires falling off. Matt, you got any questions for him?
Absolutely. Thank you, Gary. Blair, my God, my man. Las Vegas, under the lights in prime time. If that's not a bigger stage, when I run this race, I don't, excuse me. So I had to clear my throat there, as I was saying. When I load up to run this race, I don't care if it's in the trucks, the Next Gen Xfinity. I get the nerves. I can feel the tingling. The back of my hair and my neck stands up. You went out there and attacked this thing like it was just another day in the office. Went to work, started this race from the pole, had a bad fast truck in qualifying, and as you carried over the race trim, from the moment of that green flag, It seemed like you came here with one plan, and you were not going to be denied and executed at a high level. However, I got to ask you, did all those caution flags throw off your mojo at all, or was it, hey, just adapt and overcome? We have a solid plan, and let's just go out there and get it.
The first couple cautions kind of put a thorn in the plans, but when we got shuffled back there toward the middle of the race, honestly, it was helping me because I could, depending on who's starting up on front, you could see who's going to jump early in the restart zone or not. The restarts, I was on the outside. I was able to pick off a couple quick positions. And then we got another caution up there toward the end, and I was able to get a couple more. And that last pit stop there, I somehow got another position. It was just lucky spots through the last few cautions. It's funny, the first one's burned me, and the last one's helped me.
You know, sometimes it's not a matter of how, it's just in general how it all unfolds. It comes together for you at the end of the day. But like I said previously, that wasn't without just having a clear mindset, go out on the racetrack and executing and taking and seizing the moment, getting it done on pit road, gaining those spots, and then obviously putting up the good fight, keeping those guys behind you. And I mean, you earned this one tonight 100% of the way as we watch you burn it down live on the instant replay right now. Before I cut you loose, who do you want to thank? Who helps you get it done on the 32? The floor is yours, sir.
I want to give quick thanks to Brandon for keeping it clean there at the end. That was a great battle. Hopefully it was really good to watch on the broadcast. When I get a chance to watch it back, I will. On the truck, we got a couple actual sponsors here. We got my family's business here, Holloman Napa Auto Parts. My cousin Tad runs that. Matco Tools on the side. My tool guy, Roy Salisbury. I know he enjoyed this one. And ACR Auto Core Recycling. That's my buddy Brian Lefever's business. Want to give an extra quick shout out. His oldest kid today, it's her birthday, so happy birthday, Steph, and hopefully they had a good one as well.
Well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Thankful for all the strategic partners, sponsor, family, and friends tuning in. And Blair was balling here on the high-stakes tables from the drop of the green flag. He was the man with the plan. First one across that start-finish line, and he was beast mode when it mattered the most, fighting off and holding off some of the series greats. He is your race winner. Look for him to carry all the momentum into Pocono next week. Have a great rest of the week, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon, sir.
Thank you, guys. I'll catch you.
Appreciate your time. And
Good win tonight.
absolutely, Gary, I could not agree with you more. And you could tell he was fired up, and from the sound of his voice, he had to work for that one. And sometimes those are the wins that mean the most. When you go out there and you get up on the wheel and you make it happen, those ones are always more rewarding. And the ones that, quite frankly, keep me up at night because I'm so pumped up, I just cannot fall asleep. Those are the ones that you remember.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, being pumped up for a win like this, it doesn't matter if it's league, officials here on iRacing. Anytime that you can get a win, you always cherish those wins because you never know when the next one's going to come.
That's exactly right. Fun story. My first win was a lot like Michael Waltrip. Did not come in a points pay race, but it came in the All-Star race on the league side of things. It took forever to finally get that one, but when I finally did, I'll never forget it. And just like you said, Gary, those are the ones that just, you cherish those memories for a lifetime as you currently watch Blair Holloman celebrate in the grass. Your winner once again here on Racers Elite Network. Gary, before I sign off here, I got to thank you so much for coming up here in the booth tonight and working with me. I know you and I have talked about this for a long time. You are no stranger to iRacing. You've worn a lot of various hats, race control, broadcasting, league admin, you name it, you've done it. And it's great to have us finally paired together, but not only that, but someone with as much experience. You are a heck of an asset, and I appreciate your time up here in the booth tonight.
Yeah, it's been fun. I hope we can do this again very soon and, find a way to work us together in the rotation. It's been a lot of fun and, good race tonight. It always helps when they put on a good show and, You are definitely the more pumped up one than I am. I seem to be a little bit more reserved, but I think that'll, as I get back to the rhythm of things, it's been a while since I broadcasted. It should be a good time.
Hey, the offset works. I'm telling you. Just ask an old friend of mine, Cliff, and I'm not going to get into the behind the scenes stuff, but it works, man. And I know you're going to be right back at it. And hey, not everyone can be Mr. Excitement. And hey, not everyone can be the Indiana hustler like you. You were on point tonight, had all the data, the telemetry. This man didn't skip a beat. Gary always beast mode anytime he puts the headset on. It was a lot of fun. Folks, and as you know, it has come point in the time of this broadcast where all good things must come to an end, including this production. Got to thank all the strategic partners, sponsors, admins, Andrew Teft for putting this league on. Make sure you smash the like button, ring the bell, come home to 7 days of high-fly and high-octane racing action right here on Racers Elite Network. And as the late, great Tony Trapasso used to say, as you walk down the road of life, do us all a favor, don't play in traffic, and we'll see you next time right here on REN.